Growing up, I had dreams and aspirations, but always felt like the kid that didn't fit in. For the most part, I wasn't a bad kid, but when I made the transition into adulthood, I turned to the streets for guidance. This led to getting locked up in juvenile hall, doing time in CYA, and eventually a 120-month sentence in federal prison. I had a lot of time to think and reflect during my federal sentence, so I share with you what I learned, hoping I can positively influence someone else's life with Prison Talk. Getting down with another fresh out Prison Talk. A viewer emailed us this clip in reference to the LAPD and the racism going down in the department that actually recruits new hires.
A complaint was filed accusing officers of making racist and other derogatory comments about their colleagues. The alleged remarks secretly recorded.
A Los Angeles police officer working in the department's recruitment office recorded dozens and dozens of conversations for the better part of a year. These recordings revealing 90 recordings made inside the recruiting division, portraying officers and supervisors voicing open discrimination against potential recruits and colleagues based on race. These are the same officers tasked with deciding who can join the LAPD. Now, in one conversation, take a look at this. A Latina LAPD officer offered this advice on how to fight African Americans, saying, quote, "You hit black people in the liver. I heard they got weak livers," according to the complaint.
LAPD. No joke, man. No joke. One of the most gangster police departments in the country and one of the largest police departments in the country. And when you think about states that are considered liberal, cities that are considered super liberal, one of the first ones that comes to mind is California and Los Angeles. But let me tell you something about California. Just keeping it 100. California is one of the most racist states in the union. Not openly racist, not the kind of racist you know it's in your face. It's the kind of racism that's done behind your back. And it's sad, man, because the racism in California really shows its ass if you happen to ever get locked up in California. You will see really how divided it is. California is home to some of the most notorious gangs in the world and some of the most radical and racist gangs in the world. California prison is the most segregated, racially divided prisons in the country. You go to other places, and I'm not telling you to be a penologist, but the politics in California, based on the color of your skin, is no joke. I never knew how divided it was between just the blacks and the Mexicans until I crossed paths with the California penal system. I grew up around Mexicans. Some of my best friends were Mexican, used to kick it out their house, they kick it out my house. I mean, literally, I was almost like a godfather to some of my Mexican friends' children, but in prison, it's a no-no. And not so much in Northern California because they politic a little bit different, but like I knew some cool cats from Southern California, and you know, we used to chop it up on the down low, but they're like, "Big Herk, I can't talk to you publicly, man. I can't even really pass you a magazine. I damn sure can't pass you no food, and I can't work out with you. But if I can get your number, I'm gonna holler at you on the street because you seem like you're a solid dude." And I respected it. You know, it is what it is. And this is something that's been ingrained in the California state prison system. So it also, you know, spills over into the federal system, but that spills over onto the streets, which translates into the perpetuation of racism. Same thing with blacks and whites. Mexicans and whites have a somewhat better relationship. You know, they the white Southern California, as far as some of them roll with some of the Southern Hispanics, but yeah, man, it's just a very racial divide, and the blacks used to trip off me um, hanging out with Mexicans, but like the Mexicans I would really kick it with as far as, break bread with were from up north. And I had a Mexican celly for a couple years. And the blacks down south hated it. And I'm like, what they tripping off of? Well, on the street, there's a lot of beef, feuds, and just whatever going on. I'm not from Southern California in that sense, but in those hoods, they got some discrepancies here and there. So in prison, um, you don't see too many blacks and Mexicans from Southern California hanging out like that, but it's different up north. You go to the Bay Area, you go to Sacramento, it's a lot different as far as programming and how a lot of guys get down. But this is the LAPD, man, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Um, I haven't experienced anything really wild with the LAPD when I happen to pass through their system, but I could tell you when I was in Sacramento, I've dealt with some racist police out there. Sacramento is very racist when it comes to the police department out there. You guys think, LA is bad. Sacramento, they got codes for when they see blacks in certain areas. There's an area in particular in Folsom, in Sacramento, a nicer area, predominantly white. And if they see a black out there, ooh, man, you gonna catch the blues. Same thing in Roseville and Sacramento, Rio Linda too. Back in the day, it used to be really bad. Blacks, if you're not from out there, you don't want to go out there. But yeah, Sacramento has some very racist police, and they will put hands on you. They got a thing they call the helmet ride. They'll put that helmet on you, put you in that elevator, and you will get the shit beat out of you. And dudes that have been in the Sac County know what's happening. You watch your mouth. You don't say nothing. You don't bit bop a fart. But the Sacramento sheriffs is no joke. But like LA doesn't surprise me. They're hiring those they feel that are going to carry out the same narrative that they're already executing. And you wonder why California, to some degree, is a shit show when it comes to these fake ass policies. They put a black mayor in, they got a white governor, but none of them like each other. It's just a bunch of people faking, pretending to be cool when they're not really cool. And I'm not saying everybody in California or Southern California are racist, but there's an unspoken racism in California. And when you go certain places, you notice certain things and you kind of got to just be like, oh, whatever. To me, it doesn't bother me. I'll look for the most racist person that I assume to possibly be racist or not very engaging with blacks. And I go up and I make a conversation with them just to make them feel uncomfortable. Because I know they don't want to talk to me. They're probably saying, you ninja, please don't say nothing to me. When I come up to them, hey man, I see you had a UCLA shirt on. Are you a UCLA alumni? Blah 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 blah. And they're looking at me like, and what can they say? They're in public. They feel stupid. But I like making them feel. I like making racists feel uncomfortable. Puts a smile on my face, man. But don't go into don't get caught up, in the Southern California system, jail, anywhere there. San Bernardino, ooh, horrible, horrible, man. You do San Bernardino, you go up in there, man. You get out of pocket, they will smash you. Very racist, and sometimes there's situations that are set up where they know that it's an out of pocket situation, but they don't care because if it jumps off, that means they can go in there and whoop some ass too. And so I've seen some shit in there, man, and it's not a good place. And it's crazy because like I've even spoken at uh Mexican predominantly, um, predominantly Mexican. What was it? It was a junior high school, prep school, and I can feel the racism coming from the youngsters, and I'm like, damn, how can these dudes be, so young and already racist, man? And a lot of it comes from their older siblings or relatives kind of instilling that in them. But I've seen it. I've spoken at I don't want to name, like I said, name the school, but it was predominantly um, Mexican. I've spoken at a predominantly black school in South Central, and seeing how dudes. I'm talking to these kids. I mean, it wasn't the racism, but they was banging on me while I'm talking to them. They throwing gang signs at me. In California, man, it's like I said, the liberals, they are the worst thing for any society when it comes to administering fairness and being truthful and honest. And California is a prime example of that. And look at, like I said, the LAPD right there. And you would think California, they're for trans rights, or for saving the environment and all this electric cars, but it's one of the most racist places, and they look at you sideways. And I like in some instances, I mean, you got people. If I see them, I'm gonna look at them sideways. But the people who are public servants to have that mentality, and that was a female talking about hit the blacks in the liver. I hear they got a weak liver. Where'd she come up with that at? That's wild, man. That's wild. And who knows what all was said with those recordings, and how many people were arrested or caught up with other people who had that same mentality, who were compromised in the process. So leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Share the channel. Stay out of jail. Stay out of prison, man. The bottom line, um, you deal with anybody in law enforcement, man. Be courteous. Get out of there as smoothly as possible. Don't talk crazy. Look, man, the streets are not where you hold court. Be smart, but don't be stupid either. Know where you're at. And yeah, you can get caught up in some shit if you're in the wrong place at wrong time. Big Herk 916, fresh out, prison talk.
Bad kid. Officially, I only got one real spanking my entire life. My mom did the best a 14-year-old could do, raising me with love and instilling values that will last a lifetime. I was a straight A student and lived to make her happy. So how did I go astray? A horrible stepdad that stole my self-worth and invoked fear turned me into a person that I struggled to overcome. From skateboarding to selling drugs, gang banging in juvenile hall, I got caught the same way many young promising men get caught up. I struggled to find my identity, getting mixed up in shootouts, crime, and the adult entertainment industry. This roller coaster continued as I juggled college, hustling, and Hollywood, eventually catching a federal bank robbery case. I found redemption in prison while serving a 120-month federal sentence and came out a man on a mission. I became a social media influencer with over 500 million views on YouTube and a life coach mentoring people all over the world. This is my journey.
916, and I would like to introduce you to Little Herks Big Lessons. My wife and I decided to come out with a children's book series that encourages young children to be strong, to make good choices, and also teach valuable lessons. Lesson 2, Speak with Strength. At school, Little Herk's classmate Maria looked upset. The bigger kids were teasing her about her artwork. Hey, Little Herc said, stepping forward, Maria's art is awesome. Let's show some respect. The bigger kids shuffled their feet and walked away. Maria smiled at Little Herc. Thanks, Herc. You're always brave enough to stand up for what's right. Little Herks felt proud. Speaking up is what strong people do. You can pick up the book, link in the description, share it with your kids, and teach them valuable lessons.